Julie Chrisley is en route back to prison following her resentencing hearing last week. The Chrisley Knows Best star seems to be taking the long way back to FMC Lexington, where she will serve the remainder of her sentence. It could possibly take Julie up to 60 days to be back in the Bureau of Prisons, BOP, custody. Here is what we know about Julie's resentencing and her upcoming travel back to Kentucky. Savannah lashes out following Julie's resentencing. Todd and Julie Chrisley were first sentenced to 19 years combined in prison in 2022 for bank fraud and tax evasion. They immediately began the appeals process. The couple reported to prison in January 2023. As fans know, Julie Chrisley attended her resentencing hearing in Atlanta, Georgia, on September 25. The court previously vacated Julie's sentence due to insufficient evidence that the reality star was involved in the crimes prior to 2007. However, the judge ruled to keep Julie's sentence the same. She received the same initial 84-month sentence that she received in 2022. Of course, there will be reductions for good behavior, and her sentence was already reduced by 14 months. As far as the court is concerned though, the 7-year sentence was adequate for what she was convicted of. This came as a shock to her daughter, Savannah Chrisley, who thought that she'd receive some additional time off from her sentence. Savannah also publicly slammed the judge and prosecutor outside the courthouse following the hearing last week. The Chrisley Knows Best star said the judge chastised her in court, stating that she'd been lying to Chloe and Grayson Chrisley about when Julie would be coming home. Upon leaving the courtroom, Savannah Chrisley called the prosecution uneducated. Now, fans think that Savannah's words may have had an impact on Julie Chrisley behind bars. As previously reported, Julie was forced to take the long way to her hearing in Atlanta. She spent around 45 days on the road, give or take. This is something that wardens allegedly do to inmates who complain too much. Savannah has been extremely vocal about injustice in the prison system since her parents have been incarcerated. Many people believe that her comments have impacted how her mom and dad are being treated. Fans believe that Savannah is continuing to get her mom, Julie Chrisley, in trouble. One person took to Reddit to discuss it. They wrote, "I noticed they are sending JC back to Kentucky via the long route. It must be the same route she took to Georgia. She's still not in BOP custody. One day Sassy will learn to keep her mouth shut, but until then, enjoy the ride, Jules." It could potentially take up to 60 days for Julie Chrisley to return to FMC Lexington in Kentucky. The sunlight filtered through the tall trees lining the road, creating a dappled pattern on the winding, rural highway. Julie Chrisley sat in the back seat of the black SUV, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The hum of the engine and the rhythmic turning of the wheels should have provided some semblance of comfort, but instead, it only amplified the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. Today wasn't a day she had anticipated with ease. She was heading back to prison after a brief furlough to deal with family matters. The SUV's route was supposed to be straightforward, a quick trip to the federal correctional facility. But this journey had taken an unexpected turn. Julie had been advised that due to road closures and unforeseen delays, the trip would take longer than planned. The long route, they called it. A twist of fate, Julie mused bitterly. As if the past 2 years of her life hadn't already been a detour from everything she had ever known. Julie leaned her head against the window, watching the countryside blur past. It reminded her of the days when things had been normal, before the trials, the accusations, and the sentencing that had shattered her once glamorous life. Memories of lavish family dinners, reality TV appearances, and carefree vacations on yachts flooded her mind. She had been a public figure, adored by millions, part of the Chrisley Knows Best empire. But now, all of that felt like a distant dream, a life belonging to someone else. The air in the car felt heavy with unspoken words, a shared dread neither mother nor daughter dared voice. It was as if time had slowed down, making each second a reminder of the inevitable destination. "I still can't believe this is happening," Savannah finally spoke, her voice a mixture of disbelief and sadness. "You don't deserve this, Mom." Julie gave her a small, strained smile. "Life doesn't always turn out the way we plan, sweetheart." The words felt hollow. Of course, she didn't deserve this. None of it made sense: the fraud accusations, the media frenzy, the trial that had seemed to drag on forever. There had been moments when Julie thought justice might be on her side. But those hopes were dashed when she and Todd were both found guilty and sentenced to years in federal prison. The SUV hit a small bump in the road, and Julie's stomach lurched. The long route. She wished they could get there faster, so she wouldn't have to sit in this purgatory of thoughts. It was the waiting that was the hardest, waiting to face the cold reality of her cell once again. Savannah turned to her, her eyes filled with a steely determination. "I'm going to keep fighting for you and Dad, you know that, right? I don't care how long it takes. We're not giving up." Julie's heart swelled with pride. If there was one silver lining to this nightmare, it was the strength she had seen in her children, particularly Savannah. The young woman had stepped up in ways Julie hadn't thought possible. But even Savannah's fire couldn't undo what had already been done. "I know, sweetie. And I'm so proud of you for everything you've done. But I need you to take care of yourself, too. This isn't a battle you should have to carry on your own." Savannah's jaw clenched, and she shook her head stubbornly. "It's not just about me, Mom. It's about what's right. I'll make sure people know the truth." Julie reached over, squeezing her daughter's hand. "Just don't lose yourself in all of this. Promise me." The SUV slowed down as they approached a detour sign. The driver, a stoic corrections officer, glanced in the rearview mirror. "Looks like we're taking a small detour again. This might add some extra time to the trip." Julie exhaled sharply. More time. The thought of more minutes stretching out in this limbo between freedom and confinement felt unbearable. She glanced at the corrections officer but said nothing. What could she say? There was no escaping this reality. Every twist and turn of the road was a reminder of how far she had fallen. The car continued its slow crawl through the winding backroads, passing small towns and empty fields. Julie's mind wandered again, back to Todd, back to their days of grandeur and wealth. She wondered how he was holding up, how they had both gone from the heights of luxury to the bleakness of a prison sentence. "Do you think Dad's okay?" Savannah asked, as if reading her mother's thoughts. Julie sighed. "I hope so. I pray every day that he's okay."